central bank digital currencies been getting a lot of attention lately, but what exactly are they? And what should consumers know about them? So with me is the CEO of Glint Pay, Jason Cousins, to explain what this is, what should people know about these central bank digital currencies. So Jason, welcome. And just start with, what are these digital currencies that these central banks are working on?
Hi, Jane. Thanks for inviting me. And it's a great topic. It's a really important one, I think, that everyone really should become cognizant about. CBDCs, as they're called, the acronym for central banking digital currencies. CBDCs are the central bank's latest initiative around technology. Really what they are just new payment rails. But the way they're being sold in is, I'm sure they'll be saying, look, they're going to be able to deliver low fees for banking and payments. They're going to be safer because your money might be with the central bank rather than with the bank. They'll be able to operate 24/7, which at the moment banking doesn't do. They'll be espousing the benefits of cross-border payments and the benefits of being able to maybe offer payment solutions and wallet solutions to the unbanked. And I'm sure they'll be also saying we'll be able to help society better, because the next time we need to inject money into the economy, we'll be able to do it much more efficiently and quickly, because they won't have to do it through the banks. Effectively, you will have your own wallet with the central bank with a CBDC.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like they're feeling a little threatened by the cryptocurrencies that we're seeing, and they want to keep control. So, and I'm guessing that's what's wrong with it. It's still a central bank that is involved in this digital currency. So explain what the problem is with these currencies.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Fundamentally, there is no difference with this. At the end of the day, it's still going to be the US dollar or the British pound or the euro or the yen that's behind this. As I said, it's in a way, really, the idea to call it a central banking digital currency kind of obfuscates or kind of, glosses over the fact this is exactly the same kind of money that has been losing its purchasing power for the last 50 years since we came off the gold standard. Yeah. And I think for me, really, and for a lot of people, it's a solution that's, it's trying to find a problem. We already have low fees within banking now. Lots of new challenger banks and payment systems that are coming in that deal with that. When it comes to operating 24/7, there's a huge amount of solutions out there that do that. Cross-border payments are already being dealt with by a lot of private companies, and the same with the unbanked. When it comes to injecting money into the economy, then of course, yes, they're going to have a lot of power to be able to do that very quickly and in a huge way. But you've got to ask yourself, who benefits from this the most? And when I see that the solutions are already out there in the private markets, you've got to look at who is really benefiting from this. And of course, this gives huge control to central banks. So you can imagine they're going to know, they already know a lot about the economy and about payment systems, but they don't know down to the granular level of the wallet itself. Suddenly they're going to have huge control. They're going to be able to whether they just choose to do this or not, it's going to give them the power to have huge surveillance over what everybody is doing. And you've really got to be worried about the unintended consequences of implementing something like this.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you have to think forward about 15 steps to see where this may be going. I mean, we saw during the pandemic, I think, an unprecedented amount of government control. And, people lost their jobs, and if they weren't vaccinated, and, or they donated to the wrong cause, and that showed up, and then their bank account frozen. I mean, are those some of the negative consequences that we could see with something like this?
Well, I think the problem is that, during the pandemic, the government's rightly acted quickly to help people, but you've got to look at what they did. 20% of all US dollars in existence were printed just in 1 year. I think it was in 2020, it might have been 2020, 2021. But this huge amount of control, they say with great power comes great responsibility. And, in a way, what we could end up in a situation is where the banks become disintermediated, that we suddenly, for instance, why have a bank anymore? If your deposits are with the central bank, if you can make payments without using a bank, maybe the last vestiges of hope, so to speak, for the individual banks is that, we can do with the lending. But I mean, when a central banking digital currency, when all the transactions for everybody is running on one system, they have all that data. They'll be able to run algorithms. You'll be able to have algorithmic loans being made to people. But the problem with that, of course, is that it's not offering any choice to the customer. You could end up in a situation where it's kind of big brother system, where the central banking machine is deciding who gets an interest rate. You might get a higher interest rate than me because they might be trying to manipulate our behavior at an individual level. They might say, look, Jason, you're spending too much. We're going to increase your interest rate just to you because we want you to save more. But they might be saying, Jane, you're not spending enough. We're going to lower your interest rates. I mean, this manipulation at this kind of level is huge. And they might start to choose, how we spend money as well. They might be making decisions about that. And, they might start saying, well, we don't like what you're spending your money on. It's affecting your health, for instance. We're going to start to do that. Now, I know this might sound a little bit far-fetched, but it's like if the system is capable of doing it, then the temptation is always going to be there for authorities to be able to use that. And one of the arguments I've heard recently as well about this from central banks is that, it's going to be safer because we're going to be looking after your privacy. Central banks and governments are going to look after your privacy, not like these private companies, who sell your data for their own profit. Well, I've got to say, Facebook might have come under a little bit of criticism recently, but I can move away from Facebook and quite easily move off their platform. And if they've they've talked about their own big, digital currency, the initiative they're looking to bring to market. I'm sure they're still working on bringing a new version of that to be. But I've got a choice. Do I have a ring of private companies with private digital currencies that I trust, or do I trust the government? Government don't exactly have the best, history with this. I mean, we've already seen that the governments like the US and the UK initiated huge mass surveillance programs on our own citizens. The whole Edward Snowden thing showed us that. So if you've got a system that tells the central banks everything about everything we're doing and gives them the power, that kind of power is huge. I mean, Canada just recently started blocking people's bank accounts because they were protesting. Yeah. And then, God forbid it ever ends up in a situation like in China where they're the first country to really have pushed a central bank and digital currency, and they are using it for their manipulation. They're manipulating people and stopping them leaving the city and spending money on things if their social credit system score isn't right.
Right.
So
yeah,
I personally think that central banking digital currencies, or CBDCs, are probably one of the biggest threat to civil liberty that society's actually faced in a long time.
Yeah, no, I think people really need to think about, what kind of data, information, control you're giving up to some kind of government with this. So what should people do? What are the alternatives to these central bank digital currencies?
Well, I think that I think you're absolutely right. That they've got to think very carefully about this. My feeling is that when you open the box and let this out, it's very difficult to put it back in. And the one thing that people can do, of course, I think, is start making sure that they are also, whilst they still are integrated with and using the existing financial system, they find ways to also work outside that. And obviously, there's the cryptocurrency movement for people. And I think that's a good way to look. It's definitely start to look at that if you haven't done already. But also, there's Glint. What is Glint offering? We're offering the ability to put people on their own personal gold standard. So with the Glint app and with the Glint MasterCard, you can buy gold, save it, send it to other people outside of the US, that is, spend it anywhere in the world where MasterCard's accepted, which is, effectively putting you on your own personal gold standard. And we know already that gold over time, although the value of gold fluctuates as confidence in fiat currencies goes up and down, we know that over the long term, gold is beating inflation. We know that it's outside of the banking system. So your gold's in a vault insured by Lloyd's of London. So it's also protected against systemic risk. And hopefully giving you a hedge against the developments in the economy, which we're seeing, and hopefully as well some of these kind of dangers that I see with CBDCs.
Yeah, no, I think it's good advice. And I think because we're going to be hearing more about these, and I think people need to know exactly what they're all about and what the potential could be, not just in the near term, but the long term. Because sometimes we can't always envision this. So thank you so much, Jason, for coming and explaining this and giving us an idea about these central bank digital currencies.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks.